From the beautiful, energetic, and resilient city of Calgary, this is Immigrant Life Podcast, the Canadian narrative. On this show, we engage in real conversations and share true life stories that uncover the lessons learned, tips, strategies, and actionable insights that will help you thrive as a first-generation Canadian immigrant. It doesn't matter what phase of the immigrant journey you're in, we have you in mind. Maybe you're still in your home country, wondering what the Canadian Permanent Residency Visa you now hold in your hands means for you and your family. Or you only recently landed and you're unsure of how to secure a professional job and settle in a good community. Immigrant Life Podcast, the Canadian narrative, has something for you. Perhaps you already have the much coveted professional job and you are just curious how to make a success of it. You may even have been around for some time, settled in your career, and wondering what next. On the other hand, if you're uncertain about how to start or scale your own business, you will love it here. From culture to jobs, language, family dynamics, finances, weather, food, funny learning moments, and everything in between. We discuss it all. As long as you have your Canadian Permanent Residency Visa or citizenship, we have something for you.
Welcome to the Immigrant Life Podcast, the Canadian narrative. As always, my name is Dapo Bankole. Today, I have a very interesting guest with me in the studio. Her name is Nadine Stille. Nadine, welcome to Immigrant Life.
Hi. Thank you for having me, Dapo.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine for sure. It's not all the time that we have guests like you in the studio, so people with a very interesting experience and different perspective from other people. In fact, to be candid, we know that we're all immigrants. We'll come here for different reasons from different nations, and whatever brings us to Canada, we land here. Our path is usually very similar, but you know what? Our experiences are very different, which is why your perspective, you know, the way you see things and your experience and all that, we're always very interested. So I'm very, very glad, to have you in the studio. I hope you are too.
Yes, very. Yes, I've been looking forward to this. So yeah, thank you for having me again, Dapo.
You're welcome. So let's start by, I'm sure you'll prefer if I start talking about me, but fortunately today is about you. So let's meet Nadine. Who are you, by the way?
So my name is Nadine. Talking about immigration, let's start there. I would call myself a German European living in Canada.
Oh my goodness.
So I was originally born in Germany. I have lived there I would say most of my life, but for the last 15 years, I've lived in different countries, most of them in Europe. And Canada is the sixth country overall I'm living and working in. So there's a lot of experience of settling into different countries and cultures. And from an immigrant perspective, this is this year, Canada. I came here in early 2018. And to be with my husband, to live with them for the very first time for longer than 2 months. So that's an interesting take on that as well. Having been married but not really lived together yet, for us it was a matter of seeing each other, not believing that we found each other, and then finding ways to actually just realizing, okay, where do we want to settle? Somewhere in Germany or here, and how are we going to make this work? And so long distance relationship and all that a few years later, and here I am in Canada.
Wow. This is very interesting. I mean, you just messed up my own immigration story, and I don't like it. I'm taking that very personal right now. You alone, you've lived in 6 different countries? My goodness.
Yeah, including Germany. So
and I've only lived in, Canada is the second country I've ever lived in. I've visited 1 or 2 other places, but as in living, no. I've just passed through different places and go somewhere for work, 2 weeks leave kind of thing, but no. So that's a very interesting perspective. You're going to make this fun. So I think you're the second person I'm interviewing actually that came here because of love, for love's sake, you know?
Yes, for sure.
I don't know if I want to dive into that right now. Let's leave that for now. Let me
Okay,
let me
what's the
let me spare you.
alternative? Yes.
Let me spare you on that one for now. But anyway, so I assume, I mean, you're based in Vancouver. I'm based in Calgary here. So I assume, my assumption is that you moved over to Vancouver because of your husband, for sure. Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So having somebody here, definitely that makes a bit of a difference. A bit. I won't say, I mean, a lot, because when I came as well, I came here with my family, and my sister, my blood sister is here. There
Oh.
is, oh yeah, I come from my mom, my dad, five of us. I'm the fifth. You can say I'm the last one. That's fine as well. But my sister here, she's a third person. There's somebody in between us, but that person is not here. So anyway, I mean, I came here. Generally, even the government and research and all that kind of tells people that, hey, when you have relationships already in Canada before you land, it makes your integration easier, right? That's what we're told. That's what we believe. Yes, from some perspective, but regarding what matters for me, which was getting a job in my field, no, it didn't matter that I had my sister here. So my question to you, is that how was your beginning here? How were things for you when you came? I know your husband was here and all that, but how were things for you?
Yeah. I actually agree with you. In some sense, it makes it easier because you have one person already there who can show you a tiny bit around, or say, hey, this is where you go for this part, or hey, let's find this out together, and maybe have some insights on certain things around culture, or someone who can bounce ideas off. But for other things, no. I also, for one, I had to still wait a few months for my permanent residency to come through. So I wasn't legally allowed to work, but I was looking for work because with work, I would have been, with a work offer, I would have been okay. But that also did not happen. And so it's, the situation wasn't that much different, that I was like, okay, let's take the pressure out a bit and see, because I find that if you're really desperately trying to find something, it sometimes does not happen. So to kind of consciously be calmer around it, and I know you're a true, like a big believer in that too. Everything's going to work out okay at the end, right? I've read that a few times about you, and I've heard you say that. So kind of just say, okay, you give it your best and you see where things lead. And so in that sense, I took out the pressure a bit for myself as much as possible, and started really integrating, figuring out, okay, what do I want to do in the first place specifically? Where do I want to be? What kind of people do I want to be around with? And what is workplace culture like here? What should I avoid? Where can I go? Things like that. And I did a lot of networking and really, trying to meet people in the that are, that have big networks here too. People are very well connected, learning something along the way of what really matters to people here. And that really led to a lot of, opportunities down the road that I did not realize at the time were those opportunities. And I know you too said you had a chance meeting at some stage further down the line that led to a job offer for you. Yes. And this is, I see that over and over again. It's not usually the first person you meet or the second or the third. And it's probably also not them, but someone they know might have something for you, right? So it's like the second people in the second networks that might have what you're looking for, and where you can. It's not necessarily just giving. It's also it's a proper relationship that you're building. It's not just, hey, I know you and I know you, but it's the relationship building over long times that will eventually pay off in that sense. So that's on the professional side. On the personal side, I had to figure out how to live with my husband. It's like, okay, we're going to make this bachelor patch a home. And so how does that work? And from all the places that I lived at, and I believe that is to be true for any immigrant, any place, it's all super exciting at the beginning. It's all shiny, it's new, it's more, sometimes there's a bit of, excitement mixed in with a bit of anxiety and things like that. It's like, oh, you're going to make it happen. You have all this energy. But what does that look like 6 months in? And you may not be there yet where you want to be, or there's more obstacles. How much of that, say, resilience, do you carry forward? How long does that last? And how are you going to cope with it further down the line when things may not work out as well? So I've always, the first country I moved to was actually England, and I had exactly that experience. It was all fine, and then all of a sudden, total homesickness, and I felt awful. I was like, I do not wish that on anyone. And I still remember it. I was walking down, and typically England, it was raining that day. Everything just felt miserable. It was gray, and I was walking down this massive long road, and just nothing would work out. And I remember just being really emotional around it. And I thought, hey, you can either stay or you can go. Which is it going to be? And if you stay, you're not going to stay living in that misery. You have to do something around it, right? I felt awful. And so I decided, no, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you everyone back home. I'm going to show myself that I can do it. Prove yourself, right? And I think that is a quality that a lot of immigrants bring with them as well. It's like, no, I'm going to make this work. And so what does it take? What do you have to do to make that work? I made it work in my first country, and then swore to myself, if I ever live somewhere else again, I'm going to make sure that I never, ever feel that awful again. And it worked. It's not always easy when you go places, but, there's things, you can do to make sure that when that slump hits you, because it's going to come at some stage, that you're dealing with it and you're not unprepared. Maybe that was even the worst thing. First out, it's like, didn't see it coming. I thought everything is always going to be fine, but no. So yeah, that's why I've done a lot of networking and really getting to know people and the community here in Vancouver when I first arrived, and it paid off.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, definitely, again, you have a very interesting background. You're from Europe. I came from Africa. You've lived in 6 other countries. Now you're here again. Okay, one other things for me, I mean, apart from having initial professional challenge, which most immigrants have anyways, not all, but at least a good number of us, we have it. The one big thing is it's always about that culture. There's always this cultural shift. There are do's and don'ts unwritten, and that's what makes culture very, very, very painful, because it hits you in the face. It's like an iceberg kind of thing. You don't know it's there until you hit it. Now, when we live in different places, what I find is that you pick up nuances and cultural behaviors from the different environments that you've lived in. Now, when you finally, you've moved here and haven't lived in different places, did you find yourself getting a little bit confused sometimes, thinking, acting or thinking in a particular way? Maybe you were thinking like a German, or talking like a German, or acting like a German, or eating like a German, or ordering food like a German, kind of a thing, compared to maybe you're in London, but you're here, but you just find yourself doing things the way you did them in some other countries. You find yourself in that kind of weird situation, just like, oh, I'm in Canada. What just happened now? Did you find out what was that about?
I'm kind of glad you brought this up. And the examples in between too. Yes, there is always this oh, how are things being done here? And
Mm-hmm.
if someone says this, is that what actually is being meant?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there something, everything is always like amazing and outstanding. And as a Europe, as a German, it's like, if something is good, it's like there's not a lot of
There's nothing
superlatives
else.
about it. It's good, it's working great, that means so there are, but I learned that earlier earlier on. So there's usually a lot of listening and observing,
Mm.
and then playing it, kind of maybe finding a trusted person in that same circle and saying, just gauging and seeing, hey, is this really what this is meant or not?
Mm-hmm.
What is meant by that? But one of the other examples that you just brought up, where I found myself nodding away, is like, yes, this is a recurring topic. It's actually food.
Food, right? Mm-hmm.
Food. And that was on the very first time I came here to visit. I ordered something that in a restaurant that was said, oh, this is what it is. And then I ordered it, it arrived at the table, and I was like, no, that's not what that is. That is your own version or interpretation of what this is, but it's not that. It was a French dish, I think, a dessert. I'm all in for desserts. And it's the same for, I don't know, it's certain types of cheeses or cakes or dishes that have very distinct names, and that I know it's like, this is the type of meat that you need for it. This is what needs to be inside, the ingredients is. And I've come to realize that when I order this here in specifically in Vancouver, it's most likely not what I know it to be. It's going to be a fusion interpretation of the original dish. And that's okay, knowing that is that now. But if I really want, that typical type food, then I'll probably prepare it myself. I don't know. What's that like with you? Do you cook a lot of the things that you know from back home, or do you find that here somewhere in the restaurants and shops?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be upfront here. Most of my food, the food that we even take at home here, they're from back in Nigeria. They're same delicacies we've always known and we loved and enjoy, and so that's what we take for the most part. Yes, we've imbibed some other food and tastes and all those kind of things here, and we even cook them. So, but do we look around for those things? For the most part, no, because except you're from my cultural background, you really can't prepare my food the way like, you must have been baptized in my own background. I mean, you may be German like you, but you must have lived in Nigeria or had some form of baptism into my culture before you can prepare that way. So naturally, I wasn't even looking for it. But at some point, yes, we found a Nigerian restaurant here in Calgary. And not that they're going to prepare anything that's different from what we prepare at home anyway, but curiously, we just went there. Like, hey, what do you have? Kind of thing. And we felt good. Like, okay, it's just not sushi and all these other things and pizza and all this, it's not just that. We can actually order what we eat back in Nigeria here. That make us feel really good. Yeah, but if we want to, I mean, that's most of the things we take, they're from, of course, we take some of that minor things. So yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right there.
But also you get to buy the ingredients here, right?
Yeah.
Or do you?
No, we don't. But we buy them. That's the funny thing. Most of those things are even available here. Even in Superstore, you find some of those things, but you just don't have. I guess some of those stores, they are catering to the diversity in the community. So they've probably done their research, and they know that okay, this community likes this, that community likes that. So then they stock it up, kind of thing. So we find them in typical stores. So yeah,
that's what I was really surprised about too. That I do find like certain authentic things in the German things in the supermarkets here, like directly imported. There are more authentic German foods in some of the like stores here than I would have seen in, say, living in the Republic of Ireland where I was before here. I was totally surprised, and it's like, yeah, if I wanted that, I can, and then I'll prepare my own foods at home. But I think food is always such a staple, so entwined with the culture, things that from back home. It's you're sitting around the table, or it's a very social event as well, right? And it's the smells, the taste, just the preparation of food, and there's a very strong link there to the culture, and that's something I want to keep holding up as well while I live over here, and pass it on to my little one, and involve my husband as well.
No, that's absolutely, it's absolutely what I find is we all have to create a version of ourselves, or not like create, but spread a version of ourselves everywhere we go, and leave a version of ourselves everywhere we go, because whether we like it or not, we leave imprints everywhere we live. Every interaction that we have with people, we leave imprints, right? And those kind of things. So, excuse me, culture and food. Food definitely is very social. Some even think food is private kind of thing. I know some people who will only agree to eat with people that they are friends with. If you are not friends with them or really close with them, they don't share food with you. They can offer you food, but they will not sit at the table with you. Look, so there are some of those cultural nuances.
Wow.
Like I've met some people like that. Like if you are not like kind of like intimate or like really close to them, no, you don't sit at the table with them to eat. They can give you food, you stay at your end. They eat at their end. That's it. For them, food is private. It's intimate. It's
wow.
Yeah.
I've I need to look more into that. That sounds super interesting. I haven't
right?
I haven't heard of that before. So it's like, thank you for letting me know. I'll dive more into that.
No problem. Now, I heard you make a couple, there's a statement that's really popular that I hear immigrants use a lot. And I've heard you use that like 3-4 times since we started.
Okay.
So I'm going to pick you up on that. You've been saying, from back home, back home, back home, back home. I hear immigrants say that a lot. So for you, you've been here, your husband is here, your kids, you're raising your son here and all that. Where is home for you?
It's interesting that you picked that up, because I wouldn't have necessarily. I hadn't realized that this is how I phrase it. But to be honest, it's probably always it depends on the situation, and probably between Canada and Germany, I would exchange the two. So it's in both places, but it's for different reasons. So home right now would be definitely here. This is where I am. This is where the people are around me that I love. So my husband and my son, and this is where I have my life, my work, my friends. It's all here. But back home in Germany is more of that the immediate larger family, right? And what used to be where I grew up. So this is more of more, I don't know, more like a longing type thing in Germany. And this is not my, I don't know, maybe it's a foundational home. It's like when you have a house, now that we speak about it, it's like maybe back home in Germany would be the foundations of the home. If he's talking in metaphors, and then Canada would be, building up from that, to have the, your roof over the head and all the rooms where you're currently living. You're not necessarily living in the in the basement. It can happen, but so that's probably how I say it. It's a combination of the two for different reasons.
For different reasons. Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense for sure. For me, home is now here. Every now and then, I think I catch myself using the same phrase, back home. But for me now, here is
Well,
home. This is where I've
yeah,
chosen to live for the rest of my life. Unless, hey, people say this and I believe in it, say never, right?
correct.
So you
Yeah.
never know. Anything could happen tomorrow and then you just have a change of heart. So I will always leave that hope on. But for
Mm.
now and for the foreseeable future, this is my home.
Same here.
That's for me.
Same here. I can't currently see that being any different, and this is how I'm living here as well. It's like, no, this is it. I'm going to
Mhm,
make this my home,
mhm.
as much as possible for the foreseeable future. So, how do you refer to back home then? If this is home, how do you refer to Nigeria?
Just refer to Nigeria. That's it.
Mm,
Just refer to
yeah.
Nigeria. Yeah. Yeah. I
Mm,
haven't traveled back. I haven't, if I, it depends on what I'm talking about, right? So I could be saying something like, let's say I'm talking about my parents, for instance. I
hmm
haven't seen them. Well, I saw my dad last in 20, which year was that? 2015. He was here, but I
mm.
haven't seen my mom since we left. We came here 2012, and yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I haven't seen my mom since. We talk, and I
Hmm.
think for the first time last weekend, we did a video call, my mom and I, and she saw me, and I could hear that kind of like I don't know.
Mm.
It
The
was
voice
just
called.
it was an emotional moment for her that she could actually, like, we've been talking, we talk all the time, but that she saw me and then she saw the kids and all that. She was just like,
Mm.
wow, wow, wow. And I'm like, oh, you actually look like me. I'm like, really? At what age?
Oh.
She wasn't generic. She was actually very specific. Because I'll tell you what she said. Because of I have this gap tooth here.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I picked it from my mom, and some of my kids also have the same, generally. And she was like, "Oh, you all actually look like me." I'm like, "Huh? Yeah, yeah, we do."
And look, here your grandkids too. Oh,
Anyway, fun times. Let's talk about your business. Let's talk about your business. You're a business person. What exactly do you do?
so I'm coaching. I'm a coach,
Mhm.
and I'm a founder of a coaching community. I realized that, and this is what we connected over as well. Originally, we're both community creators and people who bring other people together.
Together. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm really, really passionate about. And so I, all that networking and those events that I mentioned earlier that I attended when I first arrived. At some stage, a few months in, I realized I have a lot of coaches in my network because I was like naturally drawn to people who help other people, who are
Mhm.
have a very positive kind of can-do attitude and support others. And it's like, yeah, that's my tribe. And other people in my network, they all wanted either a bit more from life or didn't know what they wanted, were maybe overwhelmed, needed a bit more like a balance or just something else. And that connector part of me kind of clicked in again, and it's like, okay, let's connect people, like coaches
Mm,
with people who could really benefit
mm,
from coaching conversations, and the other way around as well. And so that's where the original idea of podcasting came from. So that's
mm,
there's some interviewing coaches, and then I created a community around it with in the first few years, like online, face-to-face events. Then there's a lot of things going on online, and the podcasting part, and just like helping others to really thrive and
mm.
make sure that they get most out of their life or their business, their career, whatever is most important to them, and or where they want to improve in. And yeah, I'm making that all happen as the founder of that coaching community called Coach Me, and I'm coaching and consulting myself on personal branding, and yeah, coaching others, and just seeing how we can make our communities better places to be for everyone.
Excellent. No, thank you for doing that. You know, I'm part of, I'm not sure if you know John Maxwell.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I'm part of his team actually, and one of the things he's always talking about is that you know what, success is focused mostly on yourself.
Hmm.
But when you choose significance, that's where you focus on other people. So not everybody has. It's even tougher, I would say, when you have your own struggles, and you always will have your own struggles and growth dynamics and challenges and things like that. When
Hmm.
you have that, and you still choose, in spite of, to help other people to grow up, to move up. It's always a blessing. It for me, it's always fulfilling for me anyway. Some people don't think that way, and that's fine. But one thing, there's another mentor of mine, Ryan Levesque, and one of the things he says, you know what? Anybody and everybody, you can always help the next person. And why is
Yeah.
that? He said because a grade two student would always be valuable to a grade one student.
Hmm.
You understand? So there's always one person that's just one step below you that you can help, that kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what level you are in life. That's excellent attitude to have, that you always have something to give. So I appreciate you for doing that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's I really agree with what you're saying. It's something that I've kind of come like there's a lot of immigrants in Canada. That's what I
Hmm.
love. Like one of the things that I love about Canada is the diversity of people around here. But one of the things that I hear immigrants say a lot is, "Oh, I don't have," or I can't do that. I don't have that experience, or I'm not whatever good enough, fast enough, old enough, young enough, whatever. And then it's the what am I not rather than what am I? What can I do? Right? And especially then when it also comes to say mentoring or passing on or
Hmm.
like helping others, there's so many things that anyone can do, but it's a mindset thing, right? Rather than saying I can't, it's like, but what can you do? How can you
Exactly.
help? How can you kind of contribute or live in your purpose? If you do not have a job yet, and you're struggling, what is there in your power to do to kind of shift that a bit and
Hmm.
feel a bit more fulfilled and of purpose and in alignment with what really makes you come alive? And until you find that maybe that job that you're looking for, there's always something you can do. And I'm saying this not because it's easy.
No, no.
um, but it's possible,
I,
right?
I I mean, I think again, one of this is not to steal your show, right? This is yours. It's all about you. But
No, no,
really,
go ahead. I
you
love
know,
our conversation.
yeah, thank you. One of the things about life that I've learned and I keep learning and trying to practice is the fact that, you know what, when we change the questions that we ask, we influence the results that we can have. Like what you just said, it's simply saying, instead of saying, I can't do this, I can't do that, if you just change that to, how can I
Hmm.
do this? How can I do that? It's just about the question. Just change the question out. I don't want to do this to you, but in, in
Uh-oh.
2015, no, it's fine. I'll rush it. In 2015, I lost my job.
Hmm.
Okay, it was a very painful moment and things like that. Recession hit and
Hmm.
Calgary and all those confusion. That's fine. Initially, I wasn't even bothered about myself, but I got concerned at a point because, suddenly suicide rates started going up. People were losing homes and people were confused, and mental health issues and all those things just spiked. So I just thought, this is not right. Like, yeah, you can lose things, but hey, you can also gain them. But if you
Hmm.
lose yourself, it's difficult. So I'm like, what can I do? How can I help? Then
Hmm.
I set out and I'm like, okay, I think I can at least organize an event and look for experts that can talk to people who are
Yeah.
in that situation. And I
Hmm.
did. And at the end of the day, I had over 200 people, attend that event. It was a 2-day event. But where am I going? The day of the event, I gave the keynote, like opening address, whatever you want to call it. And when I talk to people, when I open my mouth to let people know why I did that, they were like, oh, wow, this is interesting. But where they were shocked the most was the fact that I didn't also have a job. I remember there was a guy who came up to me after to say, "Why are you doing this? Like, who does that? Like, you don't have a job and you do it." Like, it didn't make sense to people. Like, like, you're drowning and you're trying to help another person that is drowning. Like, kind of, I'm like, well, but you know what? At the end of the day, then my next step, the next position, not position, but the next endeavor, opportunity that I was able to leverage came from that very conference. And I've never looked back since then. And that wasn't my aim. That wasn't my aim. And that's why I believe in what Zig Ziglar says. Zig Ziglar says, if you can help enough other people get what they want, just enough other people get what they want, you will have everything you want in life.
Beautiful.
Anyway.
No, it's a beautiful thing, and it's like you lived in your purpose. Even back then, you were okay. How can I bring people together? How can I do something around it, right? And you didn't go in thinking, oh, I need to, there's going to be a job or a position out of that. It's because you felt the need to do something. Absolutely. And you learn something through it, a lot through things like that, right? Earlier this year, and a lot of that can be applied to now what we're going through with the pandemic as well. We were, I remember sitting together with the coaches that I'm working with, and we're like, okay, what can we do? We have all the skills and the knowledge, and how can we help others in our community? So within literally a week, we set up a 10-week or a 10-event webinar series of either talks and workshops, or even like very small, intimate group coaching sessions as well. It was all for free for people who have lost their jobs, who were struggling, who were overwhelmed. And but we took donations for the Vancouver Food Bank to pass on, there and see. So it's a kind of a two, like we were helping people by passing on our skills as coaches, but then also, through the donations there in the food bank. And there's always something that you can do, and it does not have to be a massive event with 200 people attending. Sometimes it's a kind word. Sometimes it's listening to someone, acknowledging them. Yes, I hear you. Yes, I know you're struggling. You're not alone in this. Hugging someone, if that's possible. It's not always now.
I mean, now it's
and or connecting someone with someone else that might be in a position to help this person better, or in some other way, or saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. There's always something that you can do to help someone else out. Kindness doesn't cost anything.
No, absolutely. I agree with you there. Nope. Right. Kindness.
Or a smile.
Or a smile. Yeah, I'm telling you. Oh, excuse me. Or just to say hello. How are you doing? Yes. just throw positivity out there and just say something positive. I agree. I really like I like your thoughts. Let me ask you one curious question. What has your business taught you about yourself and about immigrants since you came here?
It has taught me that if you find that thing that you're passionate about and that you really want to do, then you don't really have an option of not doing it. You're not following it. It takes a bit of guts, and sometimes you may not do it right away, but eventually I believe that you're following what you're really passionate about, right? So if, for instance, I was looking for a job for a long time, and nothing ticked the boxes of what I really wanted to do until I came up with this idea for Coach Me. And I remember having the thought and immediately thinking, oh, and then the swear word, because I knew it ticked all the boxes, everything that I'm really passionate about and that I wanted to do. And it's like, there's no way I can ignore that voice in my head. Like, I have to give this a go. I have to give this a really good go. And I believe that this is also something that is really strongly coming through with immigrants. You're not immigrating because you want a worse life for yourself.
No,
right?
far from it. Nope.
Exactly. You're immigrating for a purpose. You want something. You're going through the immigration process. It's not easy. Giving up not the application process, the leaving your life behind, the going into the unknown, the trusting, the courage that needs to be part of this. So when you're in that new country, you're going to make sure that you're going to put everything in your, in your power to make this work. And I find this quality, that drive, comes especially through in immigrants. There's just something to it, and yeah, it might take a while, and yes, you might have that knockback, but there's this resilience and that drive there, and it's like, and passion. You're not doing this, oh yeah, well, I'm immigrating. No, you actually need to work for it to get there in the first place. And when you're there, you're not going to waste an opportunity.
Nope.
So that's what I find really comes through this getting it done opportunity, getting it done kind of mindset in some way, even if there's setbacks or despite there being setbacks and all of the challenges. I know you mentioned you had 3 jobs at some stage when you came in, and none of them were what you actually wanted to do. And the impact that it had, it led you somewhere. Yeah. It's not, I'm not saying you had to go through this to get somewhere else. Ideally, no one, everything is smooth sailings, but it's not always the case. But there's this perseverance there. And I find that comes through a lot more in immigrants, simply because you do not want to waste that opportunity of having made it there in the first place.
Thank you. Thank you so much. One key thing I picked there, a couple things, but you're simply saying, create your own opportunity. If you can't go for whatever you want, if you can't find it, create it. That's all, create it. And that definitely, the attitude comes from not giving up, not entertaining all that pity party and who me, why me and why now, and assuming or believing that you made a mistake, that kind of a thing. I think that is gold, right? Yeah.
That could also come through, right? You like, okay, I really want to go for this, but this was a mistake. Then you're learning from it, and there's a reframe there of, oh, it was a mistake. It's like, okay, what did you take from that? What's the learning in that? Right?
Yeah, I like that. I like the word you use there, reframe, right? You reframe. Yeah. No, thank you so much. Let me ask you just a couple as we round up, because I know we are
nearing time.
Yeah, but let's talk about. I need you to be vulnerable here. Yeah. This is just, imagine that this is CT scan or kind of thing, or MRI scan of you right now. Just imagine. Okay. So now we're pushing you into that. All right. So my question for you, what is the number one, like the one very impactful mistake that you've made since you got here? And what lesson did you learn from it? Because you use reframing, right? For if you find some, so let's talk about yours. The biggest mistake you think you made.
Isn't it nice when you get like your own things thrown back at you?
Well,
mistakes, and what did I learn from it? I don't necessarily think of it as mistakes, because there's always just coming through to it. I think maybe a bit of a regret. So it's the reframe of your question. A regret would be to not having seen more of Canada by now. When I came here, I was like, okay, I need to get to know my home city and like get to know everything here. Then I had the idea about my business and was like, okay, now I need to like concentrate on that. Then I got pregnant and okay, now you can't travel. So there's always something. I don't know if it's an excuse or just things happen, but it wasn't really, on top of my agenda. And then COVID happens and well, now you can't really, I don't really want to go with the baby into an airplane right now, even though it's possible, but it's not really, top priority.
Yeah.
So this is my home country, but to be honest, there's beautiful places that I still haven't seen and encountered, and I just hear people talk about it and how beautiful places are, and I see other people travel, and like this is, for someone who, and this is the vulnerable part, for someone who says they love this country, and I haven't. It's mainly British Columbia right now, and I want to explore a lot more. So this is probably a reframe of that question.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. I have a follow-up question based on the way you answered, but I'll drop that. So you will come back again. I'm not asking, I'm telling right now.
Oh, I noticed.
That's so funny. Okay. Let's talk about the future. What does the future hold for you? What are you thinking of? Are you planning to expand your business? You want to get into politics? You want to be a prime minister or something? Or you want to move to Ottawa and do something? What are you thinking? What's top of mind for you right now?
Business-wise, world domination. I think
Nice.
People need more positive people and positive mindsets and helping others. This world needs a whole kind of new dollop of positivity. I haven't given up hope, even though it's there's some really dire moments and or long moments right now. So doing my part in making sure there's a lot more positivity and positive, equal, inclusive things happening. Politics, you know what? I think I'd be really good at it, but I can't. I'm a permanent resident of Canada. But for that, I can't, as a permanent resident, I cannot I cannot hold a political role. I actually looked it up. I would have to be a Canadian citizen, and Germany does not allow dual citizenship.
Oh.
It's one of the very few countries that I can't do that. So I'd either declare, if I want to become a Canadian citizen, I have to...
You have to drop your German...
Drop my German one. And I'm not quite there.
Okay.
To do that. But you know what? I'm actually I would say, people always say, are you into sports or what do you do? And you know what? I'm actually a really good cheerleader. I'm on the sidelines just cheering everyone on. It's like, go faster, you can do it. That would be me. And I'll do the same with things that I'm really passionate about, and feminism and the Black Lives Matter or equality, any kind of equality topics that are out there. Like, no, I learn, I listen, I see what I can do from my side to make this a better place to be. And then I'm there on the sidelines just cheering on and making sure that the people who know a lot more and have a lot more impact are, supported in that way and heard. So that would be me, the cheerleader.
Okay. I know what's going to happen, and I'll tell you, this is kind of like prophetic, but I'm telling you what's going to happen. So you are going to encounter a dream that's way bigger than you, like in a massive way, and yet it's going to be an opportunity for you, and it's going to require your citizenship. Okay. And because you're so committed to the people you've been sent to serve, that you know you're supposed to serve, you will do something about it. I don't know what, I don't know when, but it's coming. Okay, let's leave that. So
watch this space, like in a few, like, Deborah, we're coming back to this. What is it now? It's this time, this date. You said it.
So,
I'm going to mention you in my inaugural speech.
so it was that what I said it there. Okay. Last question for you. Last question. I promise this is the last one. Okay. Because I mean, you're going to come back anyway, so I'm not going to ask.
Yeah, exactly right.
So, yeah. But my last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to other first generation Canadian immigrants who are not, they're not part of the immigrant life community? They're not, they're not leaning in to be part of this kind of a community and leverage the resources that are available. What would you say to such people based on your experience and all that?
I would, well, first of all, if it's working for them, fair enough. Keep doing that.
Keep doing it. Yeah.
Right.
Good point.
But if you want to have more, if good enough is good for you, if you have that, fair enough. If you want great, if you want more, then reach out to communities, like listen to your podcast, join your community. I know you have a big conference coming up in a few weeks' time as well. There's so many amazing resources out there. And it's like, why not? You can be part of this. It's like, be curious, go out there, see what's coming up. Never stop learning. Like, learning is one of my biggest values. And learning does not mean you have to go back to the schoolroom or to,
No.
university. So many opportunities to learn every single day. Go for it. Just seriously, what's stopping you? Just do it and be kind to yourself. Be kind, not just to others, but especially to yourself as well. Cut yourself some slack. You've made it so far, and now make the most of it.
Thank you so much, Nadine. It's been fun. It's been so much fun having you here in the studio, and I've definitely enjoyed the conversation. If not, that we want to be respectful of time and even the listener. So we're going to listen to this. I think we would have continued, but hey, now I'm asking that, you consider coming back to the studio for a more exciting and very focused conversation. In the future. Hopefully you're saying, what are you saying to that? Oh, good.
It's like, do I have a choice? It's like, well, there's always a reframe. No, thank you so much. I know we can see each other like this, and we know we have big smiles on our faces, but if it wasn't clear for anyone listening in, this has been super, super fun. Thank you for having me. I'd love to come back and maybe talk about a very specific topic next time around and take it from there. Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, guys, it's been Nadine and I in the studio. I don't know what else to say, but if you've not been pumped, if you've not been inspired, if you've not been encouraged, if you've not been moved to take action or to continue to persevere, come see me in Calgary. I'll just send me a mail at tribe@immigrantlife.ca. We need to see then I know that you need some more help. But really, sincerely, it's been a very interesting conversation that I've had with her. I've taken a few points. Some of you might have, if you're actually watching, you might have noticed I'm looking down. I take notes. Here is my notebook. I take notes when I interview people because I'm not just a pipe. I also want to take my own learnings from it. So anyway, thank you for listening to us. And at this point, I'm just going to say au revoir. Bye, everybody.
Au revoir. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Immigrant Life, the Canadian Narrative. If you liked today's show, please tell your friends, families, and colleagues about it, and we'll see you in the next episode. Remember that you can get your questions answered or even provide feedback just by recording your thoughts directly on our website, immigrantlife.ca. Mopeth Systems Corp., Calgary, copyrights this program. All rights reserved.